Hey. Hello, everybody. This is Mike Ramos from Your Car Dealer Bond. Thank you for listening to and tuning into the Your Car Dealer podcast. It seems like over the last few months, I took a little time to really. It seemed like we were kind of falling out of a plane, or the plane was going down in some ways, with different things going on. Obviously, COVID. Even if you have been living under a rock for the last 4 months, you've been, and we have a lot of vendors in other countries, and they're hit with it. Everybody's hit with this thing, and it kind of took me offline in a lot of different ways. One, in that it seemed a little tone deaf for me to get out there and start putting out used car dealer content and content about your dealerships and keeping them thriving and how to become successful, when the reality is that there was a lot of uncertainty at the time. There was a lot of I had more questions than answers, to be frank, and to some extent I could certainly imagine that people aren't always looking for answers on this exact podcast, specifically not related to the news of the day, du jour, whatever it is. But it just seemed like it was, I didn't seem like the right timing. And to be honest with you, I mean, we were sort of in a tailspin at the same time. And I'm going to be frank with you guys. I'm going to be, hike my skirt up here, and I'm going to let you guys in. Take a look at the goods. And I gotta tell you, man, there was a lot of time, and I don't mind saying this, there was several weeks where I really, maybe even more than months, where I've got to put on a game face. You know what? This is going to be about as real of a podcast episode as I can get, so I'm going to have to do me during this period of time. So send the kids out of the room. Boys and girls, because this one I might get a little bit vulgar on, but I was fucking shitting in my pants. And I know you guys have heard my, or some of you guys may have heard the podcast where I start talking about being in shitting in my pants mode. It got a little more deep than that, man. I mean, it really, and some of you guys may or may not be able to identify with this. Hold on, fucking. And anyway, that period of time was difficult. Obviously, I've never seen anything like this. Shit, I'm 43 or something. I don't know. I'm 43. And I've never in my years on this planet seen anything like, or really even heard of anybody that I know that has been through anything like what we had just seen. My grandmother's in her 80s. I remember asking her towards kind of the beginning to the middle of this thing if in her long life she'd ever seen anything like this, and she said, geez, nothing even close to it. And she was a teacher. Here's the kicker. She was a 6th grade teacher for about 36 years, something like that. She was an assistant principal, and I remember my kids, actually singular, my kid had just been let out of school, my 5th grader. So I've got this 5th grader that they're kicking out of school halfway through March, saying, get the hell out of here, we'll do some distance learning from here on out. And they slow boiled the frog here, and they kept on telling us, 3 weeks, 2 more weeks, end of the year, and never again did they step foot on that school, besides just to go get packets at work or to turn them in. And some of it was done online, and God bless these people's souls. They did as good as they could under the circumstances, and they got lobbed a big, huge, fork in the road that they had to navigate through also. But I had mentioned to her that in my specific area that they had started cutting down schools. And in California, that happened. Guess what? I just talked to my buddy in Texas earlier this week, and shit, he says, "Yeah, my son's about to get out of school. His last day of school is this week." I said, "The last day of school? What the hell are you talking about? They let him in this whole time?" Yeah. He's in second grade. He's about to get into third or some shit like that. Now, what the hell? They let this guy stay in school the whole time? Hold on a second. COVID don't fuck with people the way they do in California? And I said, yeah, school district, okay. They said, they didn't even have the kids having mass. They didn't have them doing nothing. Just come on up. So, not only am I, so I was inquiring with her, hey, what'd you think of this, kind of thing? Did you ever see anything like this? You've been through several different decades of things going on and unrest and, this, that, or the other. No, never seen anything like it. Never been, they've never closed the schools down. And she's always been a California teacher. So again, it's not like I'm asking her, hey, in fucking Alaska, what's it like? And no, same state. And she said, I've never seen anything like this. This is crazy as can be. Of course, she's been retired for 15 years or 20 years or whatever. But she said, no, nothing like this. Never seen anything like this on any level that we're seeing it. Whether it's the hysteria, whether it's, kind of the awesome news that seems like they can't get enough of making people shit in their pants. These guys are fucking worse than an insurance company. And trust me, I used to work for the insurance company for years. These guys are worse, man. Fucking news. Goddamn. Anyway, we had a conversation. I'm thinking, man, she's never seen anything like this. Obviously, I've never seen anything like this. Everybody else I'm talking to has never seen anything like this. When does it come back? And when it does come back, when they do open things up, how do we all get back to, doing what we do? Now, obviously, I'm concerned about the rest of the economy. I'm concerned about, restaurants, movie theaters, bars, gyms, meat packing plants, all that fun stuff. But what I do for a living, my business, and everything that I've built this business on from day one, 10 years ago, was all centered around used car dealers. Not new car dealers, not motorcycle dealerships. It's just new or used car dealerships. It's not, not watercraft, none of the other stuff. It's really centric around the good folks that are selling used cars, trucks, vans, that kind of thing. So, anyway, just kind of focusing in on my world, thinking, how in the hell do we get back to car sales, right? And doing that in in a way that is going to be, anywhere near what it used to be, right? And then thankfully, the powers that be started cutting checks, and people were getting their taxes back, and recently people started going back to work, and so things are kind of a little bit on the upswing again, I would definitely say, because we can see it. The reason why we can see it is because we see the whole state. Whereas, you guys might be in Sacramento listening to this thing. Well, we've got a ton of guys coming in from San Diego. Or, you might be in San Diego, but we've got a lot of guys from the Bay Area or LA or the Central Valley also looking to get online and to get their business going. And a lot of them have been stopped at the pass where they can't get, damn city building's not even open. How in the hell are they going to get their business license? They're trying to work through some of this stuff to get the moving pieces kind of put together to start the business, all that pre-licensing rigmarole. And there's been hiccup after hiccup after hiccup and delay after delay after delay, and some of them, no end in sight. I mean, it's not like they hung a sign on the front door saying, here's when we're going to be back in action. Set your clock next to it. It wasn't anything like that. It was just a big question mark of not really sure when it's coming back up. So anyway, for what it's worth, it was a really crazy fucking time for us personally as a company. I really had to do some soul searching during that period of time. Matter of fact, probably one of the first days that this kind of came on us. I remember my business coach and I had talked about, I'd say a few days before it really hit. And she said, listen, Mike, go get your ass some sanitizer, stock up on some masks. She's got sort of an inside road with the government on some things that she's working on with them. She's got some contracts in place. She's based on her credentials and the authorization that she had to information. She gets information just a little before, I do, as a normal consumer of, info, whether it be from news outlets or whatever. So she's getting this stuff. And I remember her telling me about 2-3 days before it really hit the fan. And then a day later, my brother called me and said, hey man, he's an attorney. He was down, I think, in San Diego at the time and driving back up after a trial or after being in court or some shit. And he said, hey, I was coming home early and I just figured, let me stop by on the way home, to his neighborhood Target or Costco, I forgot which one. And he said he couldn't believe it. He almost shit in his pants. And he said it looked like the end of the world. And there was nothing on the shelves. It was just at the beginning stages where they hadn't even figured out, hey, let's limit you to 2 packs a day or whatever the hell they did. Whatever limitations they had on us in your area. But it was even before those limitations. People were walking out with big old huge Costco things of, that big old pallet of nothing but these. It was crazy. He said, get over there right now. I just called mom. I just called her sister. Take care of this now, man. Get out there. Go to Costco this instant. And so head out to the Costco that day. I did, and he was exactly right. It looked like the sky was falling. And we don't live anywhere near each other either. He's down in SoCal, and I'm up in Fresno. So it was knowing that was the exact same experience. And this was a Wednesday. So it wasn't like, and it was midday. It was just 1:30 in the afternoon maybe. And I'm thinking, what in the hell are all these people doing here? And there was no water. There was no toilet paper. It was amazing. There was obviously no sanitizer anywhere in sight. It was crazy. But anyway, long story short is that ended up, it seemed like we were kind of at the tail end of this whole thing, things opening back. Actually, I'll take you through the rest of the story. So midway through, I start getting a little bit of a sense that, there are dealers, of course, they're going by the wayside, like at a rapid pace we've never seen before. They've been dropping like flies over the last 2 years anyway, but the rate at which these dealers were dropping out of the industry was not only alarming, it was causing me some personal panic, because we've got 600 dealers or so. If 400 of them don't renew their bond, I don't think that my business survives, to be honest. And this is my sole source of income. This is what my wife does all day long. My daughter's employed by the business. I've got some heavy stakes in this game, and I'm sole sourced in a lot of different ways. Where the well is really being, all that water is being taken from this one well. So it was, I'm telling you, for lack of a better way to say it, I was fucking terrified. And at some point, I'm trying to also, not only am I panicking a little bit along this journey, but then I remember there was a day where every single day I see the numbers. What did we write today? How many bonds? How much did we not drop to the bottom line, but on a gross basis? What did, after we pay our carriers, all this stuff, what did we actually come up with? And the number this one time was dismal. It was like $100 or something. This business can't live off $100 a day, I'll tell you that. And so I'm thinking, oh my God, this is the very beginning. Imagine, that there's more of these out there. And I remember my business mentor getting a hold of me, my coach, and I was panicked, man. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I probably should have sold my house a year ago. I should have sold my truck 6 months ago. I should have sold this business years ago when people were trying to buy it. Man, I really screwed up. She's like, just calm down. Don't try to think everything through now. Don't try to come up with every answer now. Things will start to make sense. You just gotta kind of wait this thing out. Be smart. Do some, strategic things in the meantime. But don't shit your pants, because if you do, you're gonna start making really bad decisions. You think things look rough now. Imagine you make 3 bad decisions over the next, month. You're gonna really be hurting. So just sit, wait for the dust to settle. Don't get out there and do anything rash. Just sit, meditate, relax, kind of not relax, but do what you think you should be doing at this point. Don't let your eyes off this focus of what you need to be doing as a business owner. And best advice she probably ever could have given me. By far the best advice she could have given me, and I was very grateful to her for it. And it was, I think it taught me a few things. One, obviously first and foremost about kind of the mindset, because I know that while I had that mindset of things are just, I'm in panic mode. At that point, I wasn't thinking clearly, and I could have easily made huge mistakes at that point from fear alone. But then that clouded my judgment. And I mean, I'm telling you, some of you guys may have just gotten through that, or, be at the tail end of it or whatever. I'm sure some of you guys can understand what this is like. My sister works for the company. This is a real, truly family-owned company. This isn't, there's nobody that works for my company that is not blood related to me in some way or another, or even my sister-in-law works for us. So it's a really, really, man, I'm just panicking, man, hard. And on top of that, oh, by the way, your son's home full time and you're now his teacher. Man, it really could not have been any fucking worse from the standpoint of a business owner trying to, do what he's got to do to keep his business alive. So it was a real crazy fucking guys. I don't know what they're doing over there. And you guys that have done that, you guys have played that role recently. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about, because, there's certain things I'm good at multitasking on, and there's other things that just they take a lot of they take thought process. Yesterday I tried for a few seconds multitasking while talking to my bookkeeper, and that's why it lasted a few seconds, because I realized this is way too fucking complex, the shit she's talking about, for me to be able to just... It's just way too damn complex to be able to try to do one thing and then to be listening to her. Here's what to do in QuickBooks when this happens, and then this is a new move you've never seen, and this is how you handle that. And it was just way too much. But so you guys can understand that while I'm trying to run a business, my son, me having to answer his questions on what's actually, what does this mean, and this math problem that his teacher would explain to him for 20-30 minutes. I've got to sit there and now do that explanation. I've got to sit there and figure out some of it. I'm trying to figure what the hell do they want him to know out of this. It's it did give me a good chance to spend some more time with him. It also gave me some extra insight on what they're teaching these kids these days. And it's a hell of a lot more than I was learning in 5th grade, I could promise you that. But it was very interesting, some of the things that they give these kids, and I always look at his homework and stuff like that, but it wasn't quite like, now you've got to be the teacher and do all this explanation. So in the middle of all that, this COVID thing happening and this downturn and this potential catastrophe is on my hands. And oh, by the way, now you got to keep a game face on, because even though you're shitting your pants, you don't want everybody in the house to know, which unfortunately is also everybody that works in the business, basically, or half the team, plus my son. So you want to keep a game face so that everybody else that works for the company has some confidence that we're going to make it out, because their leader thinks that they're going to make it out, right? And you want to present that confidence because in front of your son, because you don't want him freaking out. You don't want a fifth grader freaking out on you. And trust me, before he actually came, this is one of the hidden gems of them actually having us essentially homeschool these kids for the last quarter of the year, was that he stopped going to school to hear about what either all the kids were talking about, or I don't know if the teachers were telling him this and indoctrinating him, but somehow, some way, every single day he was coming home with more fear of, hey, is the whole world gonna, is it on fire? Are we gonna, is this gonna be the end of the world? Is this gonna be the absolute, everybody's gonna get it and everybody's gonna die from this one COVID thing? I mean, there was some vicious, sincere fear on his side, and every day, it was right when he came home from school, I'd have to have a talk with him for a half hour, and then after that he'd be fine, until he starts watching videos again, or if he somehow caught some news, and then they're trying to scare the hell out of everybody. But and the fifth grade mind is not necessarily meant to cut through some of that stuff. So it's it was a definite having him here in this environment. I was able to kind of keep a little bit better control of that. He still was watching some of the videos here and there where I'll get into it in a second on some of the other things that came flying out of his mouth, but it was a very challenging time, to say the least, for us as a family, as a company. And then, there was some obvious then kind of uptick. Things started to, different counties, different parts of the state started opening up again. Inspectors started knocking on people's doors saying, hey, we've been giving you guys a little time to renew your bond, but at this point, if you don't have it to me by end of day Friday, you're out of business and we're shutting down your license, kind of thing. So there was then a push for this, for everybody to renew their bonds. Some of these cities started opening up, so they started being able to issue business licenses, things like that. So then, some of the inspectors started licensing again. I mean, it was we started to see it probably a month ago. So then we graduate from that and things start coming back. We probably only lost, during that period of time, anywhere from 20 to 30% is we were down. I say only because I know there was a lot of people that were more drastically hit than that. And we were able to kind of fight our way through that war. And then all of a sudden, here comes the next one. With all the with George Floyd passing away, and then with all the unrest that came following shortly thereafter, people's businesses are being looted, people's businesses are being shut down, and boy oh boy, obviously everybody knows that wasn't great for business either, and keeping things shut down and keeping people a little more scared of what the future is going to hold for their business. And there was obviously some dealerships that were a lot of new car dealerships, thankfully. Not thankfully for them, but thankfully for us, the used car dealers. There was, I think, by volume, quite a few less damage done to used car dealerships, which hopefully these people had insurance, proper insurance, I should say, to be able to become whole again from such an episode. But that then brought us into this whole new generation of issues, which is again kind of hamstrung our rebound, because I really thought by now we would probably be in a better position to be skyrocketing back up to the top. And today is what day is today? The 6th of June. So we're talking about, I really thought by summertime this thing was going to bounce back. Now, traditionally, summertime isn't a great time of year for us, but all of those licenses that were postponed, we've got probably 100 new business prospects right now who are just looking to get into the business. As soon as they get the green lights and can put things together, they can finalize their leases, they can finalize all these things. They're in it to win it, but it's a waiting game, right? So we now are involved in this this situation and what's happening, and thankfully I think we're at the tail end of that as well. It looks like things are kind of simmering down a little bit. There's obviously some very heated things that happen across the country. Up in the Bay Area, I did see quite a bit. Richmond, Oakland, San Leandro, I saw a hell of a lot of obviously I'm not even talking about the protesting. You don't have to shut down anything when it comes to peaceful protesting and things like that. Everything just keeps going. That part of that is just a lot of people out of work and got some extra time on their hands, so they go out and they're standing out in the sun for the cause. That's all well and good, but when it comes to the damage and wouldn't call it violence, but when it comes to then inflicting all this property damage on small businesses that are still shut down, most of them. A lot of these businesses are still shut down. I mean, I'm not telling you guys anything you guys don't know, but this is it really creates some real challenges for small businesses like us to continue, even if we've always done business from home. We've always had basically a cyber business, if you will, so e-commerce. We've always been sort of an e-commerce business in a lot of ways, since we don't have a traditional office that our customers come to get their bond, or insurance contracts or anything like that. This is not the way that our business has ever been run. So I was positioned way better than a lot of my competitors who had normal, traditional offices they're paying big dollars for, and they want to look good in front of their customers when they come and all that shit. And their staff is used to showing up, and they're used to having a bird's eye view over their staff every minute of the day to make sure they're working properly. I don't really have that issue. So for us, we didn't skip a beat from that standpoint. And as a matter of fact, during this period of time, we did reinvest it heavily into our infrastructure and research and development. We came up with a couple of ancillary products that, in the next 2 years may not be so ancillary to this company. They may take more center stage in terms of the direction of the business. And one of these things I've been working on for a damn year. Try working on a fucking project for a year and see how you feel. A, when it's not done yet, and then B, when it does get done, boy, oh boy, you would be surprised what that feels like. And we just finished that up. We just finished up that process. And it's this development is still ongoing. So we're gonna continue to, and I'm not really ready to start sharing it on the podcast just yet. You might want to give me a couple of weeks more, before I've really positioned this product in a way to really start talking about it a little bit more. But we've finished our entry level, and if you guys want some more insights on it, by all means, you guys can either slide into those DMs. I'm checking DMs now. You know what? Actually, I stayed off of every social media platform I could find over this period of time. For about the last 3 months, I stayed off. One, to keep my sanity, because fuck, you'd be surprised how much shit you read on there. And two, because we really had to double down in terms of time on this area of this research and development, because there was no other way in the world to get it all done by then. So we've done some really nifty things. If you guys are interested in this extra project I'm doing, it's actually specifically for used car dealers to really help them build their businesses into a successful, thriving business. If you guys want, Your Car Dealer Bond is on YouTube, and we're gonna start slamming some videos. I've already cut 4 videos that are in the edit bay right now. So there's gonna be some really slick, informational videos specifically for used car dealers that are coming out. You can slide into those messages there. You can those hit me ASAP. The DMs and Instagram, Your Car Dealer Bond on Instagram. Hell, for that matter, you guys can even email me, mike@yourcardealerbond.com, if that works out better for you. So a couple different ways to connect with us, but we're back in the saddle. We're kind of out the other end of it, and for everybody that made it out also, man, I applaud you. I'm curious if you guys ever went into shit in your pants mode on your end of it, or was it just business as usual and keep banging, blowing, and going, and no big deal, and you knew the whole time that everything was going to be fine? I mean, I'm real curious to hear your guys' stories. I had some dealers that were holding on to large amounts of inventory, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 of inventory when this all happened, and they've taken quite a haircut. Some of these guys that were new in business didn't have any inventory. Well, hell, now the line of demarcation is a lot lower. The entry level to buying cars is now going to be lower than ever, so they're going to have even less investment into these vehicles to get them retail ready to turn around, or even wholesale ready to get them aligned and ready for the public. So some of you guys it was a windfall for. Some of you guys just kind of stood back, waited patiently. I had a guy who just recently called me. He said, "I'm ready to get back in the business, Mike. I came out right around the time of 9/11. I gave up my keys and turned in my license, and I'm ready to rock now. It looks like the stock has hit the lowest possible point, and it's only going to go up from here." And with some folks out of their work and their business and their day job, where they're an employee, something like this is not such a high barrier of entry where you can't get through. You want to become a policeman tomorrow, not that you would want to, but imagining you want to become I don't know, veterinarian. You guys love animals, or you want to become, some of these other things. You want to become an accountant. You love numbers. Not necessarily going to happen immediately. Whether it's 6 hours of education, a bond, and a few other pieces of paper later, you're in business as a used car dealership and don't need any formal education. Could have dropped out in 8th grade. Obviously you have to have a business plan and really know kind of how you're going to execute it, but it's not like even becoming an HVAC. I had a guy the other day who was in my house fixing my AC. HVAC guy, I can't just snap my fingers and become an HVAC guy tomorrow, right? If I wanted to, or even in a month, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff to learn there in some of these other businesses. Whereas I could buy a lawnmower, and I have a truck, so I could go door to door and start mowing lawns or something like that. But the point is that we have seen at this point the uptick back up, and we are ecstatic that we made it through. We are really, my heart goes out to all the dealers that didn't make it. And I probably should have preferenced with this, because there are some really good dealers that are really in a tough spot right now that aren't going to end up giving up the ghost in terms of their licensing and all that stuff. We already have, and now we're being strapped with all of this, all the bills that came along with that were unpaid. So there's some real challenges along the way for some of those folks out there, and my heart goes out to them. If there was anything we could do on this side to help them, we would. But there's the amount of them is too vast, and the holes that were dug by keeping everything shut down for so long are very deep. And all I can say is that my heart definitely goes out to a lot of them, and I hope that all goes well in the next iteration of whatever business they start, or whatever whatever they end up doing next, and to make a buck. And of course their families are impacted.
Employees are impacted. A lot of our guys are a little bit smaller. They don't have 10 employees. 3, 4 employees is kind of a mid-level kind of dealership for us. But it really does suck out there for some of those that are really heavily impacted. And as just a person, my heart goes out to them, because I'm telling you, it was fucking terrifying out there for a little bit of time for us. For me personally, because it seems like the weight's all on my shoulders to make this train run. And so I had to jump. Man, I was laying track out in front of the train as fast as I fucking could. And it does seem like we're going to end up on the, bouncing back and being just fine. And if there's anything we can do to really help you guys out, we got some mad discounts that we're giving out just to help folks out right now for the next, we've been doing it for about 2 months now, and just discounting in every single way we can, so to help out every possible dealer we can. Not necessarily doing charity work, but we have been doing stuff at a loss. We have been writing bonds and insurance at a tremendous loss, just so that we could at least keep this guy in the game one more year, so that he bounces back and, his bond isn't going to cripple him this year, and, he can turn around, reinvest that into his inventory, keep things moving and alive. But anyway, I'd love to hear your guys' stories. You guys have heard enough about my story. I can tell you that, and the biggest reason I wanted to get this content out there is just to preface that there's going to be a lot more content that is going to be coming down the pipeline. Again, I don't think it's necessarily in bad taste anymore for me to be dropping used car dealer specific content. I don't think it's distasteful in any way for me to continue to try to do what I was doing before. So at this point, you guys can start expecting a little bit more from the Your Car Dealer podcast, and routine episodes to be coming right back out. Things that I got to clean up some old content, because some of it's talking about and maybe I'll even put in the show notes, where some of the stuff was recorded 2 months ago, so you guys can understand contextually where I was at the time. But I'm going to just start flooding some information out there and some content, and hopefully we hear back from you guys, because that's the number one thing at this point that I would want, probably more than anything, is just to hear back from you guys, hear your stories, hear what's going on your end, and hear some of the successes that you guys have. It's always exciting to hear that during this period of time, somebody went out and finalized a huge project. It gives me motivation during this time of not only launching this other product and really getting this development where we wanted to, and finishing this part of the project that we did. And I finished 2 huge projects, actually. One of them I've been kind of fighting for about the last 8 years, and even starting, and I actually started and basically finished that one. I'm still waiting on 1 or 2 other things, but the ball's not in my court anymore. And then the other one is that development I'm telling you guys about, where it's a really slick little program that I think is really going to help out. In addition to that, I lost 4 pounds. Definitely not just through stress, because I actually eat way more when I'm stressed out. I couldn't put down the ice cream for like 3 or 4 weeks, man. I just could not get enough ice cream in I was packing my neck with fucking ice cream up the ass every day for some reason. And I think the reason is because I was fucking stressed out. But I made it on the other side. I've been working out a lot more, kind of getting back into shape. I spent some time with my son, kind of getting his, we've been wrestling around and kind of getting his wrestling game leveled up a little bit. So we've spent about 3 times a week working on him. So he's real excited about where he's at. He was actually, so before this COVID thing stopped, he was going to practices with these, let's call it 3 kids. that were animals, man. These guys are fucking animals, man. These guys are good. These guys are 5th, 6th graders, and these guys all weigh about 70 pounds, and they were just fucking dynamic. These are some of the best wrestlers in the state. Two of them are state champions. One of them's actually a state champ in 3 different wrestling styles: folk style, freestyle, and Greco. And then the other one is a state placer, so not exactly the champion of the group. But boy, these guys are all head level guys. And my son was getting very little success on these guys, and sure enough, I took them to practice the other day, and they were able to roll around, and he pinned one of them, he got some points on another, and it was, to say the least, exciting for him. So and of course exciting for me, just to see his improvement and how happy he was about it, and to see that his hard work was paying off. But I'm curious to hear about all the hard work that you guys have done that's paid off for you. By all means, slide into them DMs, hit me up, comment on any YouTube video you look for and find out there. Your Car Dealer Bond is the one. By all means, guys, keep slanging them cars, keep your head up, know that this thing we're at the tail end of it, man. If you guys have made it this far, you're gonna probably make it out, unless you're in absolute turmoil and that the ship has been sinking for months, and it's just everything's underwater except for you're just floating out in with a life raft. I mean, that's a different story. But if you guys have made it this far, chances are things are going to bounce back. You just have to regroup and really start thinking about, hopefully this has already been done, but hopefully you guys have already started putting together next steps, best practices, what you guys are going to do to really shake things up when it comes back to life, in a real way, like everything, mass, all the way back open, 100%. So I'm real excited to hear about this, guys. You guys take care. Again, there's life after COVID, protesting and riots, and I'm excited about it, and I'm excited for you guys that made it, and what you guys have in front of you, because I have a feeling if you guys have made it through this kind of issue, these kinds of issues, I should say, if you guys have made it this far, there's no stopping us now. You guys have the mindset of a champion, or else you wouldn't have made it this far. You guys would have given up. You guys have what it takes for sure. Now it's about putting it all into play, and really getting ready for some success. Really start to indoctrinate your brains into knowing that success is coming too. Even start to expect it. That was one of the bigger changes I had to make, was mentally through this period of time. Yeah, I did this development, and that was a huge thing. And yeah, I did some other shit that was very positive for the overall business and myself personally. But more than anything, I had to really screw my nuts on tight for this thing. And boy, oh boy, that was not an easy process, because I kept fighting myself during this time. It's not gonna work, nothing's gonna work, how's this ever gonna come back? I had to kind of quit. I had to let it go a little bit and just realize I'm not gonna have all the answers right now. Just take it step by step, take it day by day, work my ass off, go to sleep late, wake up early, outwork every one of those piece of shit competitors of mine, and let's get out there and get this thing fired right back up. When things bounce back, we're rocking shipping out to the fucking moon, guys. So anyway, you guys take care out there. Keep banging, keep slanging them cars. Know that we're on your side, and like I said, reach out to me. This is Mike at Your Car Dealer Bond, signing off from the Your Car Dealer podcast. And again, guys, you guys take care out there, and we'll catch you in the next one.